Letting go is not weakness, it's wisdom and emotional strength. The world often tells us to cling tighter, to fight harder, to hold on no matter what. But true strength is not always in the grip.
It's in the release.
It takes far more courage to walk away from something that is no longer meant for you than to stay where your soul is slowly dying. Many people confuse letting go with giving up, but there's a massive difference. Giving up comes from a place of defeat, but letting go is birthed from a place of maturity, clarity, and peace. It is saying, I love myself enough to stop watering what is no longer growing. It is not weakness to let go of toxic relationships, draining habits, or dead-end situations. It is strength in its purest form. It is emotional intelligence that says, I know this hurts, but I know this is necessary. There is a quiet power in the person who can walk away from chaos without causing a storm. Holding on to what no longer serves you only delays your growth. Sometimes we stay attached to things simply because we've invested so much time into them. But time is not a good enough reason to keep carrying what's crushing you. Emotional baggage, regret, resentment, these things become weights on your soul. And the longer you hold them, the heavier they become. You can't run toward your future while chained to your past. You can't evolve while entangled in things that don't serve your higher calling. When you keep what should have been released, you stunt your growth, your peace, and your progress. Growth demands space. It requires surrender. And if you want to rise, you must be willing to release what is keeping you grounded in cycles that no longer align with your destiny. Peace often follows painful release. Letting go doesn't always feel good in the moment. It can feel like ripping a part of yourself away. But what follows when the noise settles and the emotional dust clears is peace. That deep inner quiet that tells you it's okay now. That peace doesn't come from avoidance. It comes from obedience. It comes from trusting that when something is removed from your life, it's not always a loss. It can be divine protection. You cry, you ache, you grieve what was familiar. But slowly peace begins to pour into the spaces where pain once lived. That peace is proof that the decision to let go was right. You'll never regret choosing peace over prolonged pain. And many times you'll look back and thank God for the strength He gave you to walk away, even when your heart wasn't ready. Letting go isn't forgetting, it's accepting and moving forward. Some people think they can't move on until they forget, until the pain is erased. But healing isn't about erasure. It's about acceptance. It's about saying, this happened, it hurt, and it shaped me, but it no longer defines me. You don't forget betrayal, heartbreak, failure, but you learn not to carry it with you into every new chapter. You make peace with your past so it doesn't poison your future. Acceptance doesn't mean approval. It means freedom. It means you've stopped fighting what you cannot change and started choosing what you can. Your perspective, your attitude, and your response. Moving forward is not denial. It is divine alignment. It is choosing to be present, even if your heart still bears the scars of yesterday. The more you release, the more you create space for better. Life is like a garden. If you keep planting new seeds without clearing out the weeds, nothing will grow properly. We want better relationships, healthier environments, and clearer purpose. But we don't want to uproot the things that block the blessing. Sometimes you've got to clear the emotional clutter before God sends what you've been praying for. You've got to let go of bitterness to make room for joy. You've got to release fear to embrace faith. You've got to close doors so new ones can open. Letting go is not just an emotional shift. It's a spiritual invitation. It says, I trust that what I lose will be replaced with what I need. When your hands are free, your blessings can find you. But if you're gripping the past, your future has no place to land. People, habits and mindsets that once fit may no longer align with who you're becoming. Growth means outgrowing, and sometimes the scariest part of becoming who you're meant to be is realizing you no longer fit where you once felt safe. The people who once understood you may now misinterpret you. The habits that once comforted you may now convict you. The mindset that once carried you may now be limiting you. That's not a sign to stop. It's a signal that transformation is happening. And transformation requires separation. It demands that you leave behind what kept you small, even if it once gave you stability. Becoming is not always beautiful. It's messy, painful, confusing. But it's necessary. If you want to step into the fullness of your calling, you must be willing to let go of the version of you that settled for less than what you're worth. Closure isn't always given, it's created by choice. We often wait for apologies that never come, explanations that never arrive, and justice that never gets served. But your healing can't be held hostage by someone else's actions or lack of closure. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is look at your pain and say, this chapter is finished. Closure is not about what they did or didn't do. It's about what you choose to do now. Will you keep rereading the same painful pages, or will you write a new ending? Will you let their silence define your self-worth, or will you speak life over your future? Letting go of the need for external validation is the first step to inner liberation. You don't need them to see your value for you to be valuable. You don't need their sorry to be whole. You just need your own permission to move on. You cannot heal in the same environment that broke you. Some places, some people, some patterns, they are triggers, not teachers. You keep going back thinking it will be different. But the atmosphere is toxic, the energy is draining, and the wounds never get the chance to close. Healing requires safety. It requires space. It requires silence from the noise that once wounded you. If you're constantly surrounded by the very things that broke you, your healing will be delayed. That's why God will sometimes force separation, not because He's punishing you, but because He's protecting you. You can't keep breathing in poison and expect your soul to get stronger. You've got to break away from the source of the pain to begin your journey toward wholeness. Distance is not cruelty, it's clarity. And healing is the reward for obedience. What God removes, He replaces with something greater. We cry over what we lose, forgetting that God never subtracts without the intention to multiply. When something walks away, when a door closes, when a connection ends, it might feel like devastation, but in God's hands it's a setup for restoration. He sees what we can't. He knows who and what will hinder your purpose, even when your heart wants it. Letting go is often God's way of removing the counterfeit to make room for the genuine. It hurts now, but it will make sense later. And what you thought was rejection was actually redirection. God does not make mistakes. What He removes, He redeems. And if you have the courage to trust Him through the loss, you will live to see Him replace it with abundance you didn't even know you needed. Letting go is not losing. It's trusting the process and honoring your future. Too often we define our lives by what we had to walk away from, forgetting that purpose is never found in the past. It's always forward. When you let go, you're not losing. You're aligning. You're not ending. You're evolving. Your life is not shrinking. It's shifting. And yes, it may feel lonely, confusing and unfair, but trust that every tear you cried will water the seeds of your next season. Letting go is not the end. It is the beginning of a new level, a new strength, a new you. It's choosing to believe that better is ahead, even when the road is unclear. It's declaring, I may not understand it now, but I trust the author of my story. And when you trust the process, Even your pain will have purpose. Even your emptiness will make room for fulfillment. Even your letting go will be the start of your rising up. Letting go is an art, and like any art, it requires practice, patience, and pain. But when you master it, you find freedom, you find clarity, you find yourself again. So don't be afraid to
weighs you down.
Don't apologize for choosing peace over chaos. Don't shrink to fit what you've outgrown. Let go and watch what God does with your empty hands. Let go and step into the beauty of what's ahead. Let go not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Because your future deserves the full, free, healed version of you. And that version is only found on the other side of release. Holding on to what no longer serves you only delays your growth. That truth is difficult, uncomfortable, and often resisted. Many people remain bound to relationships, habits, careers, environments, and even mindsets that once made sense but no longer bring life. Why? Because comfort is seductive. Familiarity can feel safer than freedom, even when it's hurting you. You stay because you once felt seen there. You stay because your identity became entangled with what you're holding. But the harsh reality is that not everything you're connected to is connected to your calling. Some things you're trying to carry were only meant to be temporary. And the longer you hold on to what's expired, the longer you postpone your elevation. Growth doesn't come without change, and change doesn't come without release. You cannot walk into new levels if your hands are full of old pain, old thinking, or old expectations. The danger of holding on too long is that it doesn't just delay your growth, it damages it. You start molding your life around things that should have been let go. You begin making excuses for people who no longer show up. You pour energy into dead soil, hoping something will bloom again, but it doesn't. And every day you convince yourself to keep holding on. Your spirit becomes more exhausted, more confused, and more disconnected from your true potential. You end up sacrificing your peace to maintain your pride. You convince yourself that quitting is failure, when in reality, releasing is freedom. The truth is, what you're holding on to might be the very thing holding you back. You can't grow when you're attached to things that shrink you. You can't reach higher when you're weighted by what keeps pulling you lower. Sometimes the next level of your life is waiting on the courage to simply let go. There is a difference between endurance and entrapment. Just because you can endure something doesn't mean you're supposed to. We wear endurance like a badge of honor, thinking that if we just try harder, pray longer, love deeper, things will change. And sometimes they do. But other times your growth is tied not to how much more you can carry, but to what you're brave enough to drop. Some doors don't need to be pushed open. They need to be closed. Some people don't need another chance. They need to be released in love and left behind. Some dreams that were once meant for you may no longer fit who you're becoming. If you try to force yesterday's vision into today's reality, you may miss what God is doing now. You have to trust that release is not rejection, it's redirection. And even when it hurts, it can still be holy. The enemy of your future isn't always a person. It's often your refusal to let go of something that no longer serves your destiny. You can't enter a season of abundance while clinging to the mindset of survival. You can't meet new opportunities when you're preoccupied with old disappointments. You can't discover the new version of yourself while staying loyal to the broken version of who you used to be. Growth demands separation, not from love, but from limitations. There's a voice inside you that already knows what you need to let go. You've been ignoring it, silencing it, dismissing it. But every time you choose to stay in what's draining you, you dishonor the purpose within you. And God won't bless who you're pretending to be. He blesses who you're becoming. But that version of you cannot emerge until you're willing to release what you've outgrown. We're not always taught how to let go. We're just taught how to endure. So we hold on because we don't want to be seen as weak. We hold on because we're afraid of the unknown. We hold on because we think letting go means we wasted time. But letting go is not a waste. It's not surrendering to defeat. It's surrendering to divine timing. It's recognizing when a season has ended, and it's time to evolve. Trees shed their leaves not because they're dying, but because they're making room for new life. And you too must shed what no longer serves your growth. That might be people. That might be patterns. That might be old narratives that tell you you're not worthy, not enough, not ready. The truth is, you are worthy, you are enough, and you are more than ready. But readiness doesn't just come from holding on. Sometimes it comes from letting go. If you're constantly giving your time, energy, and heart to things that don't feed your soul, eventually you'll become depleted. And that depletion leads to burnout, bitterness, and brokenness. You weren't created to live drained. You were created to live purposeful, fulfilled, and aligned with your calling. And alignment sometimes requires detachment. That doesn't make you cold. It makes you wise. Emotional attachment to what no longer serves you is not loyalty. It's bondage. And the enemy loves when we call bondage commitment. He loves when we stay stuck in situations we should have outgrown, all in the name of being strong. But strength isn't staying where you're slowly dying. Strength is knowing when it's time to walk away. Real growth begins when you stop justifying what's breaking you and start choosing what builds you. There are some battles that aren't yours to fight anymore. There are some relationships you've already outlived. There are some habits that are costing you too much peace. And until you get real about what those are, you will continue to feel frustrated with your life, wondering why nothing is shifting. You've prayed, you've worked, you've stayed loyal. But maybe now, God isn't asking for your hustle. He's asking for your surrender. He's asking you to let go so He can give you something greater. But He can't pour into hands that are clenched tight around the past. He can't bless a heart that's still bound to bitterness. He can't guide someone who's obsessed with controlling every outcome. You have to release control. You have to release expectations. You have to release the story you keep replaying in your mind about how things should have gone. And fully trust that what's ahead of you is far more powerful than what's behind you. When you finally let go, you won't feel empty. You'll feel light, free, aligned. Because everything that was heavy, everything that was blocking your vision, everything that was draining your energy will begin to fall away. And in that space you'll rediscover your joy. You'll rediscover your creativity. You'll start to hear from God more clearly. Clarity doesn't come in chaos. It comes in surrender. And the moment you choose to release what no longer serves you, is the moment you become available for the things that do. You become open to real love, real purpose, real transformation. And it doesn't come by accident. It comes by obedience. The courage to say, I've held on long enough. Now I choose growth. This is not the end. It's a beginning. And though it may be painful, it will be worth it. You may lose things that felt important, but you'll gain things that are eternal. Peace, wisdom, discernment, purpose. But none of that happens if you keep holding on to what's already run its course. So let this be your confirmation. You don't have to wait any longer. You don't need another sign. You already know what needs to be released. Let it go. Let it go. Not in bitterness but in faith. Let it go. Not because it didn't matter, but because you matter more. Let it go. Because the next level depends on it. Let it go. Because you are done shrinking to fit into places you've outgrown. Let it go. Because your calling is too important, your peace too precious, and your time too valuable to waste another day holding on to what's been silently holding you back. Peace often follows painful release. That truth doesn't sound glamorous. It doesn't sell as quickly as everything happens for a reason, or just stay positive. But it is real. Peace rarely shows up in the moment you want it. It doesn't always come wrapped in comfort or clarity. Sometimes, peace is the reward for doing the hardest thing, letting go of what you desperately wanted to keep. It's what comes after you've cried your last tear. It arrives when you finally loosened your grip on what God has been trying to take out of your hands. Peace isn't always immediate. It's not always loud. It comes quietly, slowly. Sometimes it even feels like emptiness at first. But that space, that silence, that ache where something used to be, that's where peace begins to bloom. We often think peace will arrive when everything works out exactly how we planned. But peace doesn't come from control. It comes from surrender. And surrender is painful. It forces you to admit that you don't have all the answers. It confronts your pride, your plans, and your attachments. It breaks the illusion that you are in charge of how every story ends. That's why letting go feels so much like grief. Because you're not just releasing a person, a dream, or a situation. You're releasing the story you told yourself about how life was supposed to look. That hurts. But in that hurt, in that tearing away, there is something sacred. God does his deepest work in the places we feel most broken. The soil of release is the place where new beginnings take root. You won't always understand why something had to end. You won't always see the purpose in the pain while you're still walking through it. But just because you don't understand, it doesn't mean it's not necessary. Some things fall apart because they were built on versions of you that no longer exist. You've grown, you've evolved, and not everything can come with you. Some relationships were never meant to survive your healing. Some habits were never designed to make it into your future. You don't need closure to move forward. You need courage. The kind of courage that says, even though I don't fully understand this now, I trust that something greater is ahead. That kind of trust is the birthplace of peace. That's when your heart starts to exhale again. That's when your spirit begins to rest. Letting go hurts because it feels like loss. But sometimes, loss is actually protection in disguise. God will close doors you're too afraid to shut. He will remove people you're too emotionally tied to walk away from. He will allow disruption where you were too comfortable settling. Not because he wants to harm you, but because he sees what's coming. He sees the heartbreak down the road. He sees the delay in your destiny. And when he steps in and removes what you were trying to hold on to, it doesn't feel like a blessing. It feels like betrayal. But in time you will see it. You will see how what broke your heart saved your soul. You will see that the no was really a divine yes to something higher. You will see that the peace you were praying for didn't come from things working out. It came from things being removed. Sometimes, peace is violent in how it enters your life. It rips away what was never right for you. It interrupts your plans. It exposes your idols. It confronts your illusions. And if you resist it, you'll find yourself stuck in cycles of stress and disappointment, wondering why nothing feels right anymore. But if you embrace it, even through the tears, you'll find something far more powerful than surface-level happiness. You'll find true rest. You'll find the kind of stillness that doesn't depend on circumstances. You'll realize that peace isn't found in perfection. It's found in presence. The presence of God. The presence of truth. The presence of your soul finally aligned with your purpose. That's the kind of peace that can't be faked. It can't be bought. And it only comes after painful release. You cannot invite peace while clinging to chaos. You cannot make room for healing while you're still hosting what hurt you. You cannot walk in light while holding on to darkness. There must be a divine exchange. Release the toxic so you can receive the holy. Let go of what drained you so you can embrace what develops you. Choose to stop rehearsing the pain, the betrayal, the what-ifs, and the could-have been. Choose instead to believe that the release was not a lie. It was a divine rescue. It was God saying, I've got something better. And even when it doesn't feel better right away, that doesn't mean it isn't working for you. Some healing is silent. Some peace is slow. But it is coming. Trust the process. Trust the pruning. Trust that the hand that removes is also the hand that restores. You will have moments where you miss what you let go of. That doesn't mean you made the wrong choice. That means you're human. Release doesn't erase memories. It doesn't remove emotion. It means you're choosing your future over your familiarity. It means you're choosing wholeness over history. You might revisit the pain. You might feel waves of but that's okay. Feel it. Honor it. Then remind yourself of the why. Why you left. Why you let go. Why you surrendered. Your peace is worth fighting for. And sometimes that fight looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like boundaries. Sometimes it looks like walking away from people you still love. But you do it because you know your purpose is bigger than their presence. You do it because you're no longer willing to shrink to stay connected. That is the price of peace, and it is always worth it. When you begin to live from a place of inner peace, everything changes. You stop reacting to everything that doesn't go your way. You stop chasing what's not aligned. You stop proving your worth. You begin to live differently. You begin to choose based on purpose, not pressure. You begin to trust that what is for you won't have to be forced. You stop striving and start receiving. And that's when the real blessings come, not because you earned them, but because you made space for them. You cleared the clutter. You released the chaos. You broke the cycle. And now peace has permission to stay. It no longer has to fight your attachments. It no longer has to compete with your pain. You are finally aligned. And alignment attracts abundance. The peace that comes after painful release is unlike anything the world can offer. It is deeper than comfort. It is stronger than circumstance. It is anchored in divine truth. It says I no longer need to control everything to feel okay. It says I trust what God removes just as much as I trust what He gives. It says I am not defined by what I lost. I am refined by what I learned. You may still feel the sting of release, but peace doesn't require the absence of pain. It simply requires the presence of trust. Trust that you are still on the right path. Trust that God is still working behind the scenes. Trust that what's ahead is not only better, it's divinely appointed. That is the peace you carry forward. That is the peace that will carry you forward. Letting go isn't forgetting. It's accepting and moving forward. Many people confuse letting go with erasing memories, or pretending something never happened. But that's not what true release is. You're not expected to forget the people who hurt you, the seasons that changed you, or the dreams that died. You're not called to act like it didn't matter. It shaped you. But what you are called to do is release your grip on what no longer serves your peace or purpose. Letting go is not denying the pain. It's deciding that the pain no longer gets to control you. You can remember and still move forward. You can carry the lessons without carrying the weight. You can honor the past without being imprisoned by it. Letting go is not the absence of memory. It's the presence of maturity. We hold on to things far longer than we should, because we believe letting go means losing something vital. We think if we stop fighting, we're quitting. If we stop reaching, we're giving up. But in reality, letting go, you go. You go. Often the most courageous thing we can do. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a declaration of strength. It says I no longer have to chase what doesn't want to stay. I no longer need to keep what God has released. I no longer have to hold together what's meant to fall apart. Letting go is not about passivity. It's about alignment. It's about realigning your life with truth, peace and growth. Some doors have to close for you to walk through the right one. Some endings have to come before new beginnings can breathe. Some chapters must be finished so your story can evolve. Moving forward doesn't mean you're over it. It means you've chosen not to be rude. The wound might still be tender. The memory might still sting. But healing is not perfection. It's progression. It's the day-by-day decision to take back your power, one step at a time. You don't need to feel completely free to move forward. You just need to be willing to say, this may still hurt, but it won't define me. Willing to say, that may have broken
me, but it won't stop me. Because forward it isn't a place, it's a mindset. And peace isn't a destination, it's a decision. A decision to no longer water dead plants. A decision to stop dancing for people who refuse to clap. A decision to stop writing chapters with characters who were only meant for a scene. The art of letting go isn't something you master in one day. It's a process, a sacred journey of trust and release. You will revisit emotions you thought you buried. You will miss what you released. You will be tempted to reach back, but letting go means staying committed to the future even when the past tries to pull you in. It means honoring what was without being haunted by it. It means blessing what left and believing that something better is being prepared.
Letting go is often invisible. People don't see the nights you cried, the mornings you woke up heavy, the prayers you whispered through clenched teeth.
But God saw it. And in the spiritual realm, every time you chose peace over panic, trust over control, and surrender over struggle, heaven noticed. Some of the heaviest weights we carry are invisible. It's the resentment we've nursed for years, the guilt we never forgave ourselves for, the person we loved who didn't love us back, the season we can't stop reliving in our mind. And those invisible weights will rob you of your present and your future if you're not careful. You can't fully embrace what's next while holding hands with what was. You have to make space. You have to be willing to say, that hurt me, that shaped me, but it doesn't own me anymore. That's where freedom starts. That's where true peace is birthed. Not in pretending the pain wasn't real, but in refusing to let it linger any longer than it should. God will often call you to let go before he shows you what's next. That's the challenge. He asks you to walk away from a job, a relationship, a habit, or a comfort zone, without immediately replacing it. He calls you to release your grip and walk by faith, not by sight. That in-between space is where most people get stuck. It's uncomfortable, it's uncertain, but it's also sacred. That's the place where trust is built. That's where dependence on God deepens. When you can say, I don't see the next step, but I'm still moving. You've tapped into divine strength. When you can say, this doesn't feel good, but I know it's good for me. You've stepped into growth. Letting go often feels like loss, but it's actually the doorway to abundance. God can't pour into hands that are already full. You have to empty first.